This week in IT SPARC Cast, Tesco goes shopping for a VMware replacement, Accenture wants to bill you hourly for AI security, and Bezos is bullish on AI's impact on the job market.
Now that's interesting.
Greetings and welcome to IT SPARC Cast. I'm your host, John Barger.
And I'm your host, Lou Schmidt. Let's go see what's going on out there.
It's Monday, June 22nd. IT SPARC Cast News Bytes is a digest of the IT news over the last week with insights, opinions, and a little sarcasm from two experts, each with over 20 years of experience working in IT or for IT vendors. And now, the News Bytes.
IT will destroy the world. There will be no jobs left.
Yeah, not according to Bezos.
Really?
Yeah. So Jeff Bezos was speaking at Viva Tech 2026, which is a conference in Paris. And he argued that AI is going to ultimately create labor shortages rather than making humans redundant, meaning that there will be more work created. And he's just taking the same argument that's been made about, robotics in the auto industry and other automation spreadsheets for accountants and such. There's more work for accountants today than there was 50 years ago before spreadsheets. And he's making the argument that AI is going to do that. He rejects the view that AI will eliminate most jobs and saying that they are effectively endless human tasks and that AI will remove productivity barriers rather than replace people. He compared AI to the previous transmission technology that I mentioned before. The comments come amid a growing concern around AI-driven layoffs. So, Lou, what do you think about his comments here?
Well, Bezos is also pitching his AI startup Prometheus, right?
Correct.
Which aims to accelerate engineering and physical manufacturing through AI and predicted that AI could usher in multiple economic golden ages. So right now I'm researching, just as a side thing, how big systems form and how big systems fall apart. And we are in sort of a period of a large system transitioning to a new reality. This has been happening all over the world. It's been happening for the past 10 years, and it's going to accelerate. So when we look at this, it actually does make sense. And let me give you the one use case that should make everybody pause. Think about this. Does an AI do anything when you don't ask it to?
Well, as we move into agentic, then they will be given the ability to start making decisions.
True, but don't you have to start that agent on a task?
Correct.
So essentially what AI is doing, once again, John, I reiterate, AI will not take your job. Somebody who uses AI will take your job. Everybody that has AI has a virtual, incredibly powerful, unsleeping team that reports to them. You still need that person to initiate the task.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I'd love to be wrong. It would be really interesting. But somebody has to say we want to make this widget, not this widget. Or they have to say we need these materials.
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, what we're saying, and I think what Jeff Bezos is saying here is that there are jobs and job classifications that are at risk. But new jobs will be opened up, just like back in the 70s when they started automating the assembly lines for vehicles. That the number of people putting bolts into cars and putting the seats in and things like that was reduced. But new jobs opened up. First, you needed somebody to build and maintain the robots, and then you needed somebody to write software for the robots, and then that just opened up, more capacity for the company. The thing I do worry about is the CEOs out there that see AI as a cost saving measure versus a growth measure. And what you should be thinking about is, instead of I can do the same with less funds, so I'm saving money, keep your spend the same and get more productivity. That will then lead your company to excel past your competitors and then bring in more revenue overall. That's the thing that worries me, is the short-sighted CEOs that are looking to cut costs versus grow.
And I think those will be the companies that eventually fade away.
All right, Lou, let's go shopping at Tesco.
Well, what about if Tesco wants to go shopping for workloads? Right. Speaking of work. So here's a really interesting thing. If you've been watching us for any length of time, you know we've been tracking the whole VMware thing. Obviously, John and I have been in the business for a long time. I knew somebody who went to work for VMware before version 2 hit. So we've been tracking this technology for a long time. And when Broadcom purchased VMware, there was a big shift in how it did business. They are um, concentrating on their top customers, making them happy, charging the living snot out of it. Tesco apparently isn't one of them. And this is big news because they're moving 40,000 workloads off of VMware. Why are they doing it? They do not like the licensing and pricing changes, and they do not feel that they are being treated fairly. So the company reportedly described Broadcom's conduct as abusive during legal proceedings. It's probably not how you want your customers to see you. So 40,000 workloads is not a small migration. This is going to be one of the largest publicly disclosed VMware exit projects, and it demonstrates that even large enterprises are willing to undertake massive migration efforts when licensing costs become significant enough. We don't know who they're migrating to. That was kept from us. I can guarantee you it's something based on KVM because pretty much everything else out there is based on KVM. But if you've looked at OpenStack, Nutanix, et cetera, out there, if you look at libvirt on KVM, for you geeks out there, and then you go over to your favorite AI programming thing, why wouldn't you build your own orchestration system? You can do it.
Yeah.
So, you know, what else is going on here, John? Is this an industry trend or?
Oh, so I think we're going to see more and more of this. And I think it's just as the contracts start to expire, that's when we're going to start seeing that happen. So that's why it didn't happen immediately broadly across the board. Some interesting things that came out of the claims in court from Tesco here is that they purchased what they at least thought were perpetual licenses. And that they assumed that with software maintenance on top of that, they were going to get all the updates to the VMware, the orchestration, and all of that. And then their claim is that Broadcom has reneged on that deal, refused to support them, and actually, as of January of this year, literally refused to provide support. So that they've gone off and found a third-party reseller to provide support for them. And the article from Ars Technica here actually highlights a few hurdles that they have to jump over. For example, their Veeam and Zerto products that they're using aren't compatible with whatever virtualization system they're moving to. So they're going to have to figure that out. But what that shows is that it's worth the pain to them to completely re-architect the way they're handling these 40,000 workloads to get out of the pressure and the that Broadcom has put on them.
So would you say the story isn't really that Tesco's willing to move these workloads? It's that Broadcom's pricing changes made moving 40,000 workloads the cheaper option.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. And, maybe it's not in the first year, but, over time, it absolutely will. And, we've said this before. We've talked about VMware is about a year ago. We talked about it quite a bit. And even at the beginning, when we first started this podcast a couple of years ago, that what Broadcom does is they buy leaders in markets and then just have them keep cranking out cash. And they do that through pricing as opposed through innovation. So the other part to this is that I think that there is an avenue opening up for somebody else to come in and either just commoditize virtualization or become an innovator and bring a new level of thinking and new features that people haven't thought of before and become the leader in virtualization. Lou, you were talking about the fact that HPE has its own virtualization system that's based on KVM.
Yeah, they have one called Morpheus. OpenStack is still out there. From what I've seen, nobody has actually turned AI loose on OpenStack yet. It would be very interesting to see what you would get out of that. But there's the thing is, KVM on Linux has evolved to the point where it is pretty bomb-proof. And
Yeah.
it has one advantage, big advantage over the current VMware offerings, which is you can run KVM on edge loads really easily
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
all of your edge infrastructure and core infrastructure runs on Linux. So
Yeah.
it's simply a matter of loading the software and enabling it. It's a big thing.
I think VMware might still have some advantages when it comes to integration with its complete suite and other ecosystem plays, but I think that that's going to start to dwindle over time. But I want to hear from you, the listener. Are you currently running VMware? Are you looking to move off of it? Have you already migrated off of it? And what was that experience like for you? Send email to feedback@itsparkcast.com or hit us up on X @itsparkcast and let us know. We really do want to hear from you. If it's particularly interesting or insightful, we will read it out on the broadcast.
And our frequent commenter Denny works on VMware. I know that, so I'm really interested to see what he thinks about this. But speaking about something else that's interesting, we've seen people moving around. We've seen AI disrupting the market, especially in SaaS space. But one thing that we really haven't seen out of AI is increased security. We've seen actually increased security risks. So do you have a story about that?
Yeah, well, so it's specifically interesting when it comes to risk mitigation because there was an article in Reuters about Accenture, and the main part of the article was about them taking a financial hit due to some of the global pressure that's going on around the world. But the second part of the article talked about what Accenture was doing to bolster up its annual recurring revenue and other things. And what they're doing is they're either investing in or acquiring multiple AI security companies. So they're spending up to $4.18 billion in order to invest or acquire companies. And they're saying that they will spend even more next year. So, and it's interesting this is coming from Accenture, who you wouldn't necessarily think as one of the forward thinkers when it comes to technology. They're more, as far as consulting goes, they just implement existing technology. So the fact that they're making this forward investment shows that even what you might even consider a tech laggard is seeing what's going on out there and seeing a way for them to make money. So, and the reason for that is that cybersecurity does remain one of the fastest growing segments in enterprise IT spending today. And organizations are increasingly looking at end-to-end security partners rather than just taking a dozen different options and trying to put them together themselves. And that's where Accenture can come in and play and provide a holistic solution. At least that's the thinking there.
I got to say, if you're hiring a consulting company to implement an email service or a cloud service and you're not using AI,
Right.
you're not paying attention. Okay.
Well, and then that brings in security risks, right? So you need somebody that's thinking about, okay, AI is going to help us, but if we're not careful, just like, okay, well, we could set up cloud storage, and if we don't set up cloud storage to the point that it's secure, then you just exposed your entire corporate assets to the world. The same thing's true with AI.
But you're not
Right.
going to bring in Accenture to tell you how to implement the service. You're going to bring in Accenture to tell you how to secure the service.
Correct.
And that's the
Correct.
big change. That's why I think this is a really smart move for them.
And I agree. And I think that we'll see more and more players do this type of thing, and that it's just going to be an opportunity. So we've talked about AI, and that there will be a small number of AI players. The foundational models. Your OpenAI, your Anthropics, and such that will make an amazing amount of money when it comes to providing AI. But where everybody else can make money is by providing the services around it. And we compare it to the gold rush, that a few people made it really rich on finding gold and becoming gold barons, but it was the people selling the picks and the shovels that made the most money overall because they were supporting the thousands and thousands of people going out there to try to find gold, and a lot of them fail. This is a great example of selling picks and shovels to those that are implementing AI.
I guess a key takeaway could be this isn't a cybersecurity acquisition so much as it's another sign security is becoming a core business service.
Yeah, if Accenture is taking this level of move, if they're making these types of acquisitions, that this is no longer maybe this is important. This is core to everything being done in IT at this point.
Well, it's beyond IT.
It is.
I think this is Accenture tends to spend, and other companies of its type tend to sit in core business processes. You're going to see them in IT, but they're there for some other reason. And
100%.
having this be pulled into the core, frankly, I'm surprised this didn't happen 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Why did it take this long?
Yeah. Yeah. That is going to wrap up today's episode. I'd like to share a little feedback from one of our listeners. Steve sent us an email and he said, I agree with your take on the new Unify Enterprise Firewall. Good first entry. Not ready to scale with Palo Alto, but they will get there. And so that's basically what we had said, is that, if you're a small, medium business, if you're a school, something like that, then this is probably a really good offering for you. If you are a large financial institution, if you're a large hospital system, this is probably not a system for you yet, but they will get there. And that actually just ends up bringing up an article that we thought about talking about today that we didn't, which is they've now entered the enterprise storage business. Unify has. So they now have what they call ENAS, which is the enterprise storage offering, which provides a lot more scalability, 25 gig uplinks, things along those lines, which really ups their game. And again, I'm not sure that this is not going to replace your EMC storage. It could replace certain Synology storage systems. It doesn't have the ecosystem play that Synology does, but it is really interesting and something that we want to keep an eye on. And we think that a good first entry. And then I look forward to seeing what their third and fourth entries are in both of these areas as they make a big push into enterprise.
Absolutely. And if you're a file system nerd, it's ZFS, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
And that is going to cover this episode. We couldn't do this podcast without listeners like Steve and like you. We want to hear what you think. Do you have another topic you want us to cover? Do you think we got something wrong? We got something right? Or do you just have another spin that you want to throw at us? You can send email to feedback@itsparkcast.com. You can hit us up on X @itsparkcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you can leave a comment down below. We do read every comment, every bit of feedback that we get. We respond to most. And if it's particularly interesting, entertaining, or insightful, we will read it out on the broadcast. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. That way you'll never miss an episode. And from the world of enterprise IT, take care.
Thanks for coming by. We hope to see you next week.